For this week's Market Perspective, we are joined by Sharon Calhoun. Sharon is a Senior Wealth Advisor and Director of Advanced Planning at Vector Wealth. Sharon?
Thank you, Jason. Well, it's that time of year again. It's tax season. So I'd like to talk about just a few reminders. Number one, if you have an IRA and if you're 70 and a half and older, you can make a qualified charitable distribution or QCD from that IRA to a qualified charity up to $100,000. If you've been doing that during this past year, either from a checkbook from your custodian on that IRA account, or perhaps directly from the IRA directly to the charity, you're going to want to pay close attention because that 1099 that you will be receiving very soon is going to show the total distribution that you made from that IRA. It's going to be your responsibility as the taxpayer to kind of parcel out how much of that total distribution was used for a qualified charitable distribution and how much of that was used or kept by yourself. It's always helpful if you can keep track during the year as you're writing these checks or perhaps making these contributions directly from the custodian. So if you need help with this process and you don't have good records, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We can assist you in making that calculation. Number two, if you have an after-tax account, also called a brokerage account or maybe a trust account, you may be getting a form called 1099 Composite and year-end summary. This report contains a summary of interest, dividends, and realized gains and losses. Now, it's not uncommon to receive a corrected 1099 Composite because the custodian is required to send you a corrected form with those revisions clearly marked. Now, you may ask, well, why am I getting a corrected 1099? Well, that generally occurs if one or more of the securities held within your account has a classification change made by the issuer of that security. For example, dividends may be reclassified as qualified versus non-qualified. And then you may ask, what do I do if I filed my return and then I get a corrected 1099? If that were to happen, you may want to consider filing an amended return, but it really is going to be based on the changes that will be occurring with your taxable income. Finally, how can you avoid some of these issues? Now is the time to keep your eyes open in either your mail or your email, depending upon your delivery method with your custodian for these very important tax documents. The last piece of advice that I can give you is perhaps you may just want to wait until we get a little bit closer to the tax filing deadline to file your return. This year, the return filing deadline is Monday, April 18th.
Sharon, thanks for stopping by. Great as always to hear from you. And thanks everyone for tuning in.